welcome everyone to this CTT in Action webinar, where we will share stories, hopefully monthly, about how we use CTT. And for those who don't know what CTT is, it stands for Cultural Transformation Tool. It's a package of different assessment tools that we have within Behaviour Center. And we are very privileged today because we have a very experienced and very appreciated and very interesting person to share his story. His name is Mike Budden, and he is placed in Cape Town in South Africa. Mike has been a certified user of CTT for starting in your 15th year now. I think it was in 2015 that you were certified. So he has a long history using the tool.
2005.
2005. Yeah, what I said was wrong maybe. Then and you have also been a consultant more than 18 years at Sebano. And today, since 1.5 years, you are together with Barry Miller, the Leadership Institute that has started, and you are now starting off an office in South Africa regarding that. And you will tell us a story about the Coca-Cola Peninsula Beverages. That is an 8-year journey or something like that, almost 8 years or 7-8 years that you have been working with them. So that's going to be very interesting for you to listen to. It will be about 50 minutes presentation, something like that, and then hopefully have 10 minutes for Q&A at the end. But we encourage you to write in your questions or comments in the comment or the chat box with the comments, and then also in the Q&A for questions. And Phil will be monitoring those during the session. And then we will come back and answer as many as we can at the end. And if there are any open questions, we may even be able to connect with you afterwards. I checked with you, Mike, that is possible.
So we also want to let you know that we won't be opening microphones, so that all the communication will be either through the chat box or through the Q&A section, because we want to dedicate the most time to Mike and the story, and we'll handle the questions. It also makes that many people have registered for this and will listen to it afterwards, and it makes it cleaner and easier to record if we just have the voice of the main presenter. So that's why we're doing it that way.
And I would tell you that this is good that it's a recording, because there's going to be a lot of different things to think about and learn from that Mike is going to share. And it's good for, even if you've been here or if you are listening afterwards, to be able to listen and then maybe pause and think about what's being said. So recommend we will share everything of those type of things, presentation and recording after the webinar as well. So with that, Mike,
I was going to say, you hand over.
With that, Mike, I would like to introduce you, Mike, and give you the floor, and we both of us will disappear from the screen. And then you are ready to go.
Good. Well, thank you, Tor. Thank you, Phil, for the welcome. And I'm really just so encouraged by all of you on this call and this webinar, and especially those that I see waking up really early this morning to be with us. And I see some in the late afternoon, and it's just an incredible privilege to be able to share with the whole community like this. And yes, it was 2005 where Phil. I was very blessed that he was the one who helped train me and learn about the CTT tools back as one of the earlier consultants in South Africa. And so today I really want to share with you a little bit of this journey, and just at the outset say that this has been about a 9-year journey you're going to experience with me, and there's quite a lot to be able to say. And so I'm really only going to be able to give you a taste or insights into some of the key processes that we've used and gone through. And of course, one could dig into those a little deeper. I really want to give you a sense of this journey with this incredible company and incredible team that I've been really privileged to work with. So with that, really just myself, really, I really see this as being a journey of learning and partnership. The CCPB journey has been my journey as well, and I've learned so much through it. I have evolved my own thinking. they've given complete trust to me and the opportunity for me to learn with them. And in some ways, often I feel really part of their team, or part of their team as sometimes my own team. It's just been an incredible partnership of trust. And it was a really interesting process, and I'll share with you the process as I connected with them in that. So what I want to share with you today is really just first give you some insight to who Coca-Cola Peninsula Beverages is. And then I really want to spend most of the time just taking you through the journey and weaving into that some of the frameworks and tools that we have been using to help support their leaders and their team members in this journey. And then I'll close off with a couple of key learnings and insights for myself and for the team in that. And I just hope that it will encourage and inspire you in the work that you're doing as well. So let's jump straight into who is Coca-Cola Peninsula Beverages. We're obviously in South Africa, which is right at the tip of Africa. And Cape Town happens to be right at the very, very tip of Africa. And the map on the right-hand side, you'll see the green shaded area. That is the area with which Coca-Cola Peninsula Beverages operates in. So they are a manufacturer and a distributor of Coca-Cola products into that area. So where did they come from? Coca-Cola is a family business. It is a franchise bottler, and they have been bottling Coca-Cola since 1940. Been an incredible journey, and it's really been incredible, valuable for me in terms of this process to be working with a family business and the commitment with which they have actually put behind this journey. Not only is it a family business, it's a business family. And this is something I truly encountered when I started walking in and working with this organization. It has a heart count of about 1,250 team members. And, you know, when you start walking into there, it's just incredible how the leaders know people's names. They are interested in their lives. And this rooted in the fact that the leaders of this business, right through from the early days, have really treated their people as a family and created this incredible community. Not only does Coca-Cola Peninsula Beverage really impact the external local community, obviously Coca-Cola is very involved in events and in the upliftment of communities around, but I believe they've had a huge impact in our local community in that they have really offered people employment in our area and really given people meaningful work. One of the big things that this organization I really have been encouraged by and has started working with them is they've never ever retrenched. Now that is very unusual in a manufacturing environment. And more than that, they've never had a union, which is extremely unusual, not only in the manufacturing environment, but in South African manufacturing. And that has something to say about their culture that we walked into. We know that there is often a lot to be said about plastic and Coke and water and everything that goes with that. But I can say that I've experienced this organization to be truly environmentally conscious. That's showing up in, one, how they really work at becoming efficient users of waters, and they've been recognized as one of the top 5 organizations in the world in terms of water efficiency. And they're also extremely involved in a company called Petco, which is an organization that encourages and recycles plastic and even finds ways to reuse that. In the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see a picture there of a beach cleanup. And again, one of the initiatives that this organization really encourages not only their own team members, but members in the local community to be part of. I started connecting with this team, a leader team that has a long tenure with the organization. When I started working with them, most of this leader team, the director team, had been working together for about 10, 15 years in that team, and they had incredible good connection. They had good connection, but I often refer to the fact that they also were just very nice with each other, and they played very nicely. And there's a story in that I'll unfold as we walk through. You can see they're a team that enjoys having fun, and they don't only drink Coca-Cola from this picture. But I will tell you they'll only drink Coca-Cola products if that's what they need to do. Yeah, the one biggest insight for me as I started working with this team was the space that they were in their lives, and they were ready for this journey that we still were about to embark on. And so I'm going to really share a little bit of that as we unpack the journey. So that's largely the team and Coca-Cola. The next couple of slides that I'm going to share with you is really some that some in the community will really be familiar with. And this is one around the fact that we truly believe having a great strategy and a strong culture informed by a compelling vision, inspiring purpose results in team members truly being committed to their roles, taking responsibility and contributing to stakeholder value. We've taken that a step further and started thinking about, well, actually that talks about us being an organization that's smart, have great strategy in place, our marketing, our finance, our technology, our best practices, etc. But also not only smart, but truly healthy, where there's minimal politics, minimal confusion, high morale, high productivity, low people turnover. And I think this concept really connected with the company and the team and the leaders as we started working with them. Most organizations have lots of smarts. The healthy piece is what makes the smart go somewhere. And that's how we do things, and that really informs the culture. I think one of the biggest lessons or the messages in this journey has been we never arrive at health. We've got to continually work and stay at being healthy. I can't get to a point where I say, oh, I've arrived now, and I can let myself go. It's a piece we're consciously needing to work on all the time. So taking those concepts of smart and healthy, this is just a little bit about how the company has framed their journey or their company to their people. They're what we would call already a great company. They've got a great product and brand, and that's a huge advantage. The brand is something that people really have a strong loyalty to, their team members, and it is a strong attractor into their organization. But as a result of that, don't only have a great product and brand, they've got a great people, and truly created this great culture, clear and effective strategy, and they work really hard at that, and to have a close-knit family culture. And I'll certainly be speaking more about that as we go through. This is something that they aim for and they really hold up as being a great company. They've been recognized, they've achieved a lot, they've been recognized for world-class manufacturing, a great commercial structure, strong environmental consciousness, as I've mentioned. And on the right-hand side, I'll talk a bit more about their values in a moment, but certainly also been recognized as top employer in South Africa. And I will share briefly with you their move to integrate 3 companies into one, which they did in a very meaningful, conscious way. And for many of us on this call, we all know the challenge that it takes to merge companies into one. So that's a little bit about the company. I really want to spend most of our time on this, on the journey. And it truly has been a journey. Where did it start? Well, the actual journey started in 1940. And it's something we continuously remind ourselves of and remind team members. This wasn't a new journey that suddenly started in 2011. It was a journey that started way back. Culture evolves, and as we know, culture is a reflection of the values, beliefs, behaviors of the leaders. And these leaders truly made an impact into building the culture that was already there when we started working with them. In 2011, the team was starting to ask the question, we think we've got a good culture. It seems to be playing out in how we lead and how our people enjoy working here. But how do we really know? And that's when I was contacted. I was contacted by one of the human resource specialists. They'd come to hear about Barrett. They searched us, thinking it might be a good tool. I met with them in the June of 2011. And not long after, I met with one of the HR managers to share the process and prepared a proposal for them. Interesting part of that, I submitted the proposal in July, and December of that year, I was cleaning out my desk, as we often do at the end of the year, getting ready for a new year, and I came across this proposal, hadn't heard from them since July, and promptly tore it up threw it into the dustbin and thought, well, that's probably the end of that. And it was in February of 2012 where I got another call to say, hey, can we meet the HR director? We think we're ready to go. So I had to obviously dig out and think about, right, how do we pick this up? And it was interesting because at that time, this organization had seldom used consultants. And so there were a lot of questions from the team, and particularly the director team, is why we bring in consultant? Do we let them in? This is something we really hold quite dear to us. And also the question of why we're trying to fix something that's not broken. There was a real deep message in that as I evolved, worked in this culture and started to think about this journey. It wasn't really broken. And so I'm going to share some of that with you. The fact that I'm sitting here today, having been given free rein to share this journey with the outside world, I think just shows how this team has shifted and how open they've become and how trusting they've become in this process and truly allowed me to partner with them. These are the journey route markers. I'm going to dig into some processes within each one of these. 2012 was really the start where we really worked at understanding what is the culture, and that really set the scene to the team really felt that although they just wanted to start measuring their culture, that's what they thought the initial process would be. It really captivated them, and they started wanting to say, right, okay, based on this, what are our purpose and our values? 2013 was the year of getting the commitment of the leadership team to this journey and really working on their cohesion as a team. 2014 was about onboarding the people in their span of care, their senior managers. 2015, we cascaded that to onboard their middle managers. And 2016, we really came to the point of really thinking about, are their structures aligned to where we're wanting to go? And are they clear about how they want to lead this journey? 2017 was really taking that further and equipping the team and introducing some incredible leadership development. And then 2018, we started preparing for the next phase of the journey, which is embedding their continuous improvement culture, which is one of their core values. And this year, we're certainly consolidating that journey and framing the leadership path. So I want to jump in and just share with you a couple of key processes. Of course, there's a lot to speak about within each of those. So I'm going to just touch on each of those. We start here in 2012. At the top of the line for each of the years, I am just calling out the CTT tools that we have used. And I know there may be some on this webinar that may not be familiar with all the Barrett CTT tools. And so you would be able to find out more of that on Barrett website or certainly contact us afterwards just to speak through that. But I'm just going to speak as if most on this webinar know what most of the tools are. The culture values assessment that we did in 2012 had a 78% response rate, which I think for a first survey is quite high. We also used the organizational 4 whys to determine the organization's purpose. So this year was all about understanding the culture. What we found in the first survey was, I think, the realization for the leader team that their senior managers were largely unempowered. I would not say disempowered. They were certainly empowered, but they were more the executors and not so much the thinkers and the decision makers for the business. And it's very typical of a family business that has evolved over a number of years. A lot of that decision-making capability sat with the top 7 leaders in the team, but it was their consciousness that evolved from there to say, hey, it's time for us to start empowering and to shifting that. We had an entropy hotspot, and I'll talk about that in a moment. And then clearly this was an opportunity for us to look at our purpose discovery. So let me jump into that entropy hotspot. We had an entropy for the organization in the first year of 23%. There was one area that had 42%. And the intention was, well, what is going on that it stood out? And this is a picture of the overall company's first values assessment. I'm not going to go into the detail near the end of the presentation. I'm going to start showing you the comparisons over the years. We see in this, at the current culture, a strong level 1, survival and strong level 3 self-esteem levels coming through, an organization had really been focusing on making themselves fit. Of course, we see cost reduction in the manufacturing environment. That's not uncommon to see as a limiting value. But when we look at that picture and we suddenly see this picture of one of their departments of 53 team members, we see something very different. Victimization, job insecurity, information manipulation. And that clearly led us to a point of going in to understand what was going on there. The big process and thought we had to do there, the leaders had to do something tough, and that was to cease this abusive behavior and make a leadership change. So that was really a big lesson in this journey, and starting to do something that was really meaningful. The director workshops that we had, we spent time discovering our purpose. When I started working with them, they had 12 great values, beautiful values, made a lot of sense. But if I asked anybody what they were, nobody would be able to remember. And so we evolved those into 5 core values. And so this is the vision of the organization, that their purpose is to refresh our communities and inspire moments of optimism and happiness. Now, there's been such a rally call for them, and to think about this not only in context of their external communities and their external customers and consumers, but also to think, how are we doing this internally? How do we as leaders continue to refresh our internal community? And how do we show up every day to be inspiring moments of optimism and happiness? We used the 4 whys process to get to this, and 2 key pieces that came out of this was, how do we do this externally for our customers, consumers, and communities? Well, our business is to provide quality Coca-Cola refreshment delivered within an arm's reach of desire. And for most of us on this call, we know how Coca-Cola can do that so well. But the bigger piece, I think, for us was, how do we do this internally? And this came from the first culture values assessment, and to really understand the personal values of the people and what they were desiring. Was these team members wanted to be people that were aligned, that they were building a world-class sustainable company that offered opportunity for innovation, growth, and collaboration. And there's a strong focus on innovation around our continuous improvement, growth in our people and developing them, and truly working together in harmony was a really a big piece for them in terms of how they collaborated. The core values, as I mentioned, we boiled down to 5. People are number 1 is their first core value, and the 4 other values are made up from the acronym FACT. People are number 1, let's make it a fact. We're fair, we're accountable, we're continuously improving, and we have teamwork. We spent time with each of their divisional areas, and we took about 140 of their leader team members through a process to define the core the behaviors that supported each one of those values. 2013 saw us really working with the leader team, and so we did leadership values assessments, which are 360-degree assessments for the top 7 executives. One of the core things we really worked with the leader team was to create a safe space for them to be vulnerable and to deepen their trust. I mentioned earlier that they were largely a team that had worked together for a long time. They worked well with each other nicely, but there was huge opportunity for us to deepen that and deepen their trust. I just wanted to mention before I go into the next piece on this, that these leaders were all in their 50-year-old age range, close to it. They're all within 10 odd years of retirement, and they were at what we have learned and what Richard would refer to as the integrating age, an age where they truly wanted to make a difference, was thinking about what they were going to be leaving behind, and an age where they really wanted to bring their best and help others be the best they could be. And this really served this process in a great way. This was probably the key defining moment in their journey, was getting the leaders to commit to moving to an endearing culture. And one of the points I make there is that we had to help them move from action to dialogue. And it's an interesting concept, because often we think about we need to move from dialogue to action. This was a team that you did not walk out of a meeting without a set of actions. being good level 3 leaders. That was the way they worked. But in this journey and in this part, particularly for them to start realizing the value of sitting around the table and having dialogue and the meaningfulness that came out with them. This is a framework that we have been using in Savannah Consultants for a number of years and developed, and a number of my partners there contributed to developing this framework. And it's a framework that really speaks to different types of cultural paradigms. You'll see perhaps a strong overlay with the 7 levels, but it's a very quick way for teams to identify largely where they are. Knowing that all organizations have bits of all of these descriptors, there's normally a concentration somewhere. We are often asked as consultants come in and say, hey, help us move from good to great, because people have read some good literature. Well, we know now there's something more than great, which we would call endearing or inspiring. And we also know that sometimes organizations aren't even that good. They may be rigid, or actually sometimes we even find toxic with high entropy. Without going into all the detail, I think the biggest thing for us is looking at that optimistic, integrated, inspired piece, where optimistic is a very can-do, productive, ambitious, a largely me-centric culture. Moving to great, which the big difference is we're realizing that we're a system and we're really only effective as the whole system hangs together. And moving to inspire, to realize we're part of an ecosystem and we're only going to thrive when the whole ecosystem is thriving and we're creating mutually beneficial partnerships and relationships with that. The big message, and we could spend a lot more time in this framework, the big message when we started working with the organization and we looked at their culture values assessment and engaged with people, was that the company identified it was largely in the good space, optimistic, put a good framework, but they wanted to go to inspired and endeared. I spent a full day in dialogue with these leaders to ask, is this where you really want to go? Being leaders that were closer perhaps to retirement than some other leader teams, they had developed the science of their business, their manufacturing was running well, they knew their recipe. Why do you want to shift? Why do you want to change? And knowing that the big shift between optimistic and integrated is not us doing something different, but it's a different way of being and showing up, meant they would be opening themselves up for some deep personal leadership work. And they were up for it. This is where they say they wanted to go. And so the real message was, if we really wanted to make this shift, it would mean thinking differently and leading differently. This really sums it up. What they'd been working at up to that point was to be brilliantly good, to develop operations and support services to be world-class. They'd laid the foundations for a strong culture and a good strategy, but realizing that the world is changing, customers are adapting, their people are really wanting meaning and seeking fulfillment in their work, they were ready to take the steps from being brilliantly good to great and inspiring. And it was really with that consciousness and awareness that they walked into this journey and really thinking about what is leadership going to look like and how do we consciously engage with this to be able to get there. This is their dream that came out of there, to grow great people, for those great people to be experiencing meaning in their day-to-day work and to deliver sustainable value for all their stakeholders. People love working there because they're inspired by moments of optimism and happiness and making a difference. And that was core for their journey. So that was really a key piece in their journey and opening themselves up to going on this road. 2014 saw us evolving the journey to their senior managers and onboarding them, and we did leadership development reports, which are also 360-degree values assessments for their top 20 senior managers. We also did the second culture values assessment, and they have got into a rhythm of doing those every second year, and we had an 81% response rate, which was certainly starting to show the belief that people had, even although 78% was high. It really it was starting to really take traction. The big piece here that I really want to share with you, one of this is we had another entropy hotspot popping up. Strangely enough, it wasn't there in the first year, but suddenly, and unfortunately, it was the HR department. And the HR department is often the custodian of this culture journey. And so they took a long, hard look at themselves in this. And I will say the difference between the hotspot we found in 2012 was, leaders were willing to be vulnerable and through their LDR saw something in their own leadership and really took those insights to heart, shared it with the team, and made some really positive shifts into the organization. The other big piece I would like to just share about 2014 is this world-class manufacturing journey that the company had been on for some years. And what surfaced in 2014 was people were starting to question this and were starting to put some demands to the company to the extent that there was a threat of a union and knowing how precious that was really for the organization. That resulted in us being able to create the framework with the culture, values assessment, information and data to have listening sessions with their people. And that really embedded for the leaders the need for them to truly listen and hear their people. This is just one slide as the outcome of those listening sessions about the people's requests. This is what we would themed from those listening sessions. You can hear the strong need for people to want to be heard and to connect. The theme of we need to rebuild trust, invest in the relationships. This is not just about world-class manufacturing, it's equally about world-class people. We want real openness, to respect us as adults, don't treat us like children, and give us the opportunity to show we can, don't micromanage us with rules. We don't expect all our demands to be met, but we do want to be communicated with, seeking to understand and feedback. And I would say this was another catalyst or a defining moment in this journey with the manufacturing area and their leadership to truly get to a place where we will just listen and hear and take on board. That evolved into us doing a breakaway with the leader team, using appreciative inquiry for them to truly think and vision what the culture is that they want to be building or fostering within the manufacturing environment. An incredible process for that leader team and to see how they've stepped in and involved in that. 2015 was the year for onboarding the middle managers, and here we used personal values assessments, a way for middle managers to really connect with what were their personal values and also to have an opportunity to dream a vision of the culture for the company. And so we took the middle managers away on a mountain retreat, created a great environment for them to go and explore that. There was another great process that happened in 2015, which was a journey of discovery, as I would call it, with the director team. So the 7 executives sat me down one day and said, this is all great, this journey to Endearing, but we want to know, is it for real? Where can you show us examples of companies that have inspiring cultures? How do we know what this picture could look like for us? And that's where we went on a journey together, all 7 of the team members, visited the United States to visit a couple of companies that we knew through either the Conscious Capitalism organization and through other connections that had inspiring cultures. Barry Waymiller was our first visit, visited Tata Technologies, Menlo, the Container Store, Whole Foods, and Booker, which is a social incubator. The journey was incredible in that not only was it about visiting these inspiring places, but it was an opportunity for the team to really deepen their cohesion with each other and share this experience. And I would say that was probably more of the value of actually the team. But this is where we struck up a partnership with Barry Waymiller. Barry Waymiller being a manufacturing organization, building packaging machinery, machinery that Coca-Cola actually uses to bottle their bottles as well. And what really stood out for the team was the truly human leadership culture that Barry Waymiller had really developed. And so these were some of the big learnings and themes out of that journey. This journey is about bringing the humanist back into business. And we saw examples of companies doing this. You can care and still be excellent, and they are not mutually exclusive. Compliance is something we mandate, but excellence is something we inspire. And this journey is all about us just becoming really much better at listening actively to our people. And really the big takeout is our world really needs this, and it needs us to show up as leaders. Business has the power to be a force for good in our world. And so just that starts with the way we treat our people. Barry Webber, I've mentioned, really has a focus and sees their purpose as being able to build a better world through business. It has the opportunity to become the most powerful positive influence on our society through the culture that we create, where people can find their gifts, they can use and apply their gifts and be recognized for their gifts. And we know that when people go home from places like this every day, they interact with their families and their spouses and their partners and their communities in a way more positive way than they would if they were in an environment that did not do that for them. So that was really important. I think the last part in 2015 was really taking that a step further, and from all these learnings to say, we need to find a way to articulate how we lead and what it looks like to be a leader. So we facilitated a number of divisional workshops, developed some leadership principles. The leadership principles are based on core principles of trust, that I'm trusted for who I am, for my character and how I show up, that I'm trusted for how I behave and connect with people, that I'm trusted for my competence, that I have the skill and capability to do what I can do and to share that with others, to be trusted to foster a safe environment, both physically and psychologically safe, and to be trusted to inspire moments of optimism and happiness, to recognize, to appreciate, to celebrate. And so those have evolved into, we have a document that sets out living our values and very clear about the behaviors that underpin that, and then our principles of leadership. And I would say that for many in the business, the principles of leadership is like their checklist. We often refer to the fact that pilots have checklists before they fly in a plane. Surgeons have checklists before they do surgery, even although they've done it countless numbers of times, and they do it because they have people who are in their care at that point in time, and safety is critical. And the same message really is, as leaders, we show up every day with people in our span of care for 8, maybe more hours in a day. And so it's just reminding us, these are the things that are really important if we are going to lead effectively. I'm going to move in now into the last 4 years. 2016 was our third culture values assessment, 85% response rate. We've seen it's been growing incrementally over the years. This was the year that we really started thinking about, are the structures aligned, and how do we deepen that trust? How do we take those leadership principles and really build that? So there was this was a year where the organization restructured to align their business with the purpose and the values, but also to introduce some new narratives. We also merged, this was the time the company merged 3 into 1 and really came together with introducing this new structure. And so just to share a little bit with that, these were some things we constantly heard in the business: too many long meetings, not real dialogue, one-way communication, it's status-driven, it's reinforces silo mentality and not supporting our shift. As we said, to move to great, which is integrated, this was getting in the way. And so it was a time to review their structures and their meetings to support that. The objectives for rethinking that was enhance teamwork. How do we make it more effective, that we can cascade this concept of a cohesive leader team right through our business? We have effective and vibrant meetings to truly lead from a place of inspiration, that we could enable alignment, sustainability, innovation, collaboration, which is part of that internal mission we've seen earlier. So this was the current structure, like any typical organization: directors, senior managers, middle managers, and it was an opportunity for us to rethink that, reframe that, and really come up with a concept that ultimately in the center of that circle is our external mission, to deliver a quality Coca-Cola within an arm's reach of desire. And we have the front line, which is selling and delivering. They are our execution team. And as we cascade out of that right to the director team, it's about the director team creating a circle of safety and really embracing and helping everybody to see that they serve and support the people on the front line. So the way we visualize things, the way we call it, actually informs the way we lead. With that, was a rethink about our naming conventions. So you would have heard, I've seen spoken about managers, they had supervisors, the people in their span of control. We have employees and staff and people. And so this was an opportunity to consciously think about, what do we call people? We are no longer managers, supervisors, we are team leaders. We are no longer employees, staff, or people, but we're team members, and they are in our span of care. We don't talk about head counts, it's our heart counts that matter. And it may seem semantical, but these really start shifting the way we think about people, and that impacts the way we treat. So not only did we do that, in this year, we went on an incredibly profound and significant experience with this new functional leader team. Took them on a wilderness experience where they had an opportunity to have a solo sleep out completely on their own in the wilderness, which resulted in the rest of that time opening up a place of vulnerability dialogue where people shared their lifelines. But the real impact of that was the deepening of trust amongst this group of people in incredible, beautiful surroundings. There were some incredible things that happened around that fire, that fireplace, which as I'm currently doing leadership development reports with some of these leaders, are walking in and saying what a profound experience that was and a shift for them, and just realizing what is the stuff that fears them, and being out on their own in this place, I can let go of some of that fear. You'll see an example of a personal 4 whys process that we did with leaders to get into connection with their personal purpose, and they shared that with each other and declared really that purpose with that. 2017, we did a second process of leadership development reports for the 7 executives. This was really to help get them a sense of how they evolved in this process. We also spent some time establishing a leadership university. This is truly the year of starting to shift and equip the team and opening up the opportunity for everybody to be involved and to receive, or opportunity to learn some leadership skills for life. We implemented a course from Barry Wemler from the BW Leadership Institute called Listen, and they were incredibly generous to provide that material and equip the initial professors to be able to teach this. But the important thing about Listen is to lead, we must first really truly learn to hear each other. And this course has had a profound impact, not in the workplace only, but probably even more importantly outside, and how people have connected with their families, truly heard people in their communities. And we've just heard countless of really incredible stories of significant change in people's lives as a result of this. These are just some examples. At the end of our course, we record words on the chart of what this experience meant for people, and you can just see some of the words there that people would respond from. This is from one of our courses. 2018 was our 4th Culture Values Assessment, and this is really preparing for the next phase. We did our 4th CVA, 88% response rate, and we did Leadership Values Assessment for 8 executives. Now suddenly you see 8 executives, not 7, and the whole reason why we did this Leadership Values Assessment was a process to onboard a new director into the team. You could imagine that this has resulted in this team becoming cohesive, really working well together, and now bringing a new member to onboard them was a process that the team really wanted to do in a very conscious way. We also prepared for the phase of continuous improvement culture, and so we really spent some time developing why. In manufacturing, we often talk about lean, and lean often means for people, we're going to remove waste, and when we remove waste, it often means, hey, who's part of the waste? It's people. And so we really worked hard and learned a lot from Barry Wemler's plants and did some benchmarks with them about how they have integrated both continuous improvement and or lean and truly human leadership. And so that is framed, and this is just an example of a 4 whys process that we work with the director team to get to the point of, we want to do continuous improvement because we want to be a beacon of hope in our country and on our continent for a better future. And it's through continuous improvement that we can develop a healthy internal community, be a responsible citizen in our world, and a great steward of our brand. And so this really formed the continuous improvement why. We want to continuously improve so that we can all have a better tomorrow. We want to be able to do meaningful work, have positive home lives, and develop healthy relationships. Continuously improving means us being sustainable, and it means us ensuring we're going to have a tomorrow in this company and in our communities. And so it looks like helping each other be the best we can be, wanting to keep making our working environment a great place to be, reducing frustrations. So this approach to lean is not about removing waste, it's about reducing frustration so that people can do more meaningful work, helping us to be adaptable and evolve and ensuring ultimately a safe future for us, our children and theirs. The 2019 year, before I go into that, just one other thing I want to call out in 2018 was the year that we started training internal professors to teach within the Leadership University. These are just some of the team members that actually have put up their hands to be professors. And what we learned from Barry Waymuller in this area, as they have done in their Leadership University, is that team members who do the work are the ones who teach. These are not HR professionals, they are not trainers, they are people who work in the line every day. The two gentlemen there, the one you will see on the left-hand side is actually a retired financial manager, and he still comes back to teach because of the meaningfulness and the fulfillment he gets out of that. And the gentleman on the right is one of the general managers of one of their plants. And they will typically come once every third month and do a 3-day training with people from all over the business to learn these skills of listening. The 2019, we've really consolidated and developed the leadership framework. Just some further work, the Leadership University is becoming a key enabler for this, focusing on building people's capability, also their capacity for affinity and alignment, and to position the university to start outreaching to the community and sharing this with family members and the community. And the university is built on this frame that the work of leadership is about growing and building the team, leading others in the business, coaching people to be empowered and see and think. Team members do the work in harmony with others. Leaders are the mentors and the coaches. So we framed a lot of the work in the university around this. This really pulls together how the leadership framework hangs together. We have purpose at the top of refreshing our communities, inspiring moments of optimism and happiness. We have our values. We have our leadership principles. And if we are going to really live this out, the university is there to help support leaders, lead themselves, lead in their communities, lead others, and lead in the organization. And the set of curriculum that we use, which comes from BW Leadership Institute, really serves to empower people with behavioral aspects around relating, serving, improving, connecting, including, and inspiring. All of this is all good, but how do we know it's taking root? Well, that's how do we know we perform? Well, our culture values assessments, our leadership values assessments, and listening to our heartbeat really helps us understand that. The last piece I just want to get on before we get to lessons learned is how do we build an organization that can survive and thrive in an uncertain world? And this may all seem like it's all been good and it's all been smooth sailing, but this company has been weathering their own share of storms. In fact, I would say they have been encountering the biggest challenges in all of their history. Cape Town had a water crisis. We nearly had day zero. Water is required to bottle Coke. This company had to deal with that and find ways to be more efficient in that. In 2017, they ran out of resin in the busiest month of the year. The supplier ran out of resin in South Africa, which is what they use to blow bottles. They had to find a way through that. Sugar tax has been implemented in South Africa at 15%. This has had a huge impact in terms of how they run their business. And furthermore, the sugar subsidies have been removed from our farmers in South Africa and further impacted their business. Now, any business faced with that would normally mean layoffs and retrenchments. This company has held themselves, they've walked through this consciously, they've worked to ensure their culture is kept investing in the university. The last piece here is, so how do we know all of this? Well, this was, I showed you earlier, their culture values assessment. These are the personal values over the 4 years. And the important thing, and this has been such an incredible revelation for me, Many companies or leaders will ask, how can we choose our core values from our personal values and our desired values? What if they change? Well, what we see here is over these 6 years, the values have stayed exactly the same, personal values, except for the last value, which is sometimes just shifted to incredible endorsement of that. These are the desired values. The orange words show how they're also same words over the 5 years. And look at how accountability has increased in the desired values and teamwork. And then this is the shift in the current culture from a level 1 and 3 predominantly to entrenching that 3, but bringing in some level 6 in 2014, to shifting that truly to transformation in 2016 and 2018, really starting to move that into a more full spectrum. Yes, we've got work to do in level 5. What you can see also is the new words that have come through in the current culture, particularly accountability, teamwork, and in this last year, 2018, leadership development, and the entropy moving through from 21 down to 16% incrementally better each year. What this really has shown us is that this is a culture that has worked to be adaptable and resilient, consciously to keep a safe environment where people are doing fulfilling work. We need each one of us to be finding ways to continuously get better. It will take everyone to be part of ensuring we have a better tomorrow in a world that will throw challenges our way. And so for me, this has been, many people say culture is for the good times, but the bad times, and it's all about survival. This story for me has really shown that when you've got leaders that are conscious, they keep calm, they work through their challenges in a way more safe way. So to wrap up, insights and lessons learned. One for me as a consultant, I think, and for us as we operate in this space. We do not have the answers. We do not have the solutions. And it's often about bringing the frameworks to allow the team to develop their appropriate approaches and partnering with this. The need for personal commitment of leaders to this journey. A clear, compelling, and inspiring purpose that frames us and we can go back to and check us. Do the tough things to make it safe. That first intervention where we needed to shift a leader to make it safe was something that was not something this company did easily in the past, but it was needed. This is not always about transformation. It could be about an evolution. This was a huge piece for me in thinking about my own language. We weren't fixing something that was broken. We were just evolving to make it something better. Have a direction but within ease with uncertainty. The roadmap is not always clear. I was often asked in the beginning, Mike, please can you sketch out for us the roadmap? What's the process? How do we get there? Well, I didn't know how we got there. I just knew that was where we wanted to go. How do we go through there? And together we evolved that. Dialogue is not doing nothing. Creating opportunities for connection, dialogue starts shifting how we think. Be aware of the pendulum swing. When we go on journeys like this, the one piece in this organization, and we got to a point was, well, were we becoming too soft? Were we starting to focus too much on people? Be people number one. And realizing that care and accountability is not a balancing act. It's about integrating the two and really working hard on that. Keep to the message even when it's hard. The commitment of the leader in this business to keep investing in its people in the university, even when the profit is coming under pressure, just shows the belief and the intent to make a difference in the communities. And culture is most necessary when the headwinds blow. I think I've spoken about that already. And the last piece is keep calm, keep conscious, keep to your values. The companies we've seen that have shifted down that curve from whether it be great, good to rigid to toxic, arrive there because of fear and panic when the tough times come. We've seen that with similar companies that have been faced with these same pressures. But if you can keep your head about you, keep to your endearing journey, keep conscious, we truly have seen what results from that. So yeah, I know that was quick. I know there was a lot. It's been quite a journey, and that's probably a good place for me to stop talking.
Thank you, Mike. That was, I sense how deeply you talk from the heart. This is you at your best, so to speak, and I can really understand how you can connect with your clients and how they trust you in what you do. So much to learn from your story. We have a few minutes left, 5 minutes left for questions, and we have had some questions. You will also be able to read all the comments later on, Mike. Very positive feedback you've got from a lot of people. Superb, fabulous, really interesting, great story. I mean, there are, just to summarize that, but I don't know if you would like to add anything specifically there, Phil, that you have catched up regarding comments.
No, it's just beautiful to see the appreciation that people have for the sharing of this work. And so I think we should jump into the questions, actually.
Yeah. Do you want to kick off first, Phil, with the one? And I can see that we have at the moment 7 questions.
Yeah, so let's see how
some of them have been also, though.
Yeah. So how did you discover purpose? Who was involved? What was the process, and how long did it take?
Okay, so initially the purpose was just with the director team following the first culture values assessment. We used the 4 whys process to do that. It evolved. The first draft that came out, it probably evolved over a period of 4 to 6 months where we really banked that and embedded it. And in that time, we started sharing with the business and getting input. But that's the way where it started.
Right.
And you said 4 to 6 months, not 46 months. Yeah.
4 to.
Why did you use LVA for the executives in 2013 and LDR for 20 senior leaders in 2014? Why not only approach the both groups?
So first of all, we staggered it.
Yeah.
We really would like the senior leaders to have, that was a conscious intent to work with the senior leaders first and prepare them so that once the senior managers went through that process, the leaders knew what that experience was, and then that they could help lead the team cohesion sessions with them. LDRs we did probably largely because of cost, and it was just more cost efficient, effective way to be able to do it with that group of leaders. Yeah.
So Marina has asked, would be good to know more about good to endearing. Would you say a little bit about that?
So just to know more about good to endearing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is that a big topic? Is that a difficult thing to?
I wonder what to know about that. But yeah, it's just been a great framework for people to be able to connect with where their journeys are, and knowing that, as I mentioned, we have elements of all of those. When we put that up with a team, they can quite quickly say, oh, we've got bits of this, but where's our prevalence? But it's just been a good framework to help teams think about where do they want to be and what are some of the key things we may need to do to get there. Yeah.
Right. Tor, you doing this?
Yeah, would you suggest you have CVAs every second year or not annually? Why do you suggest that? Why would you suggest that?
I think the interventions that we have done and the processes to do it annually just seems too close for those to have taken root and effect in the transformation. And the other piece is that every time we've done a CVA, we've used that as a key part of an intervention and put a lot of focus and effort, and to do that every year would then take away from the opportunity to do some of the other work, the leadership work we want to do and invest in some of those other pieces. Knowing that we're working with organizations that have got finite budgets that need to work, and where do we put the best spend and effect for that each year? Yeah.
We had 7 questions when we started to read the questions. Now we have 11. So we have some questions that we won't be able to get to if we are going to keep time, which I think is important as well. So we will let you look at those questions, and we'll get back to those people who have asked those questions, and that will be shared by everyone as well. And will be also a question, would this be shared? Yes, this will be shared in the normal procedure afterwards, sending out to everyone who was attending or who have registered to this course. And I'm wrapping up because I think it's important for us to keep time, respect for everyone. So big thank you to you, Mike, for all the work that you've done, not only with Coca-Cola, but also to prepare this wonderful journey presentation.
And
Anything
thank you
else?
to everybody that's showed up and listened to this, and all the thanks and appreciation and comments that have been coming through. So we're very grateful, and we're glad that we've found a formula that is sharing such inspiring messages across the network. So thank you all for coming as well, and thank you, Mike.
And
Thank
if you have
Thank
any,
you.
thank you. And if you have anyone who have, I mean, you may have a story that you would like to share, let us know, Phil or me, and we would be glad to arrange more sharing, because this is how we grow our skills and knowledge. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mike.